Republican Congressman Josh Brecheen from Oklahoma joins us now to discuss all that and probably some more, too. Congressman, thanks so much for coming on the program.
Thank you, Ben. Glad to be with you.
Reaction to this signing ceremony and the president's announcement of a new 25% tariff on foreign-made vehicles, what will that mean for domestic auto manufacturing, you think, going forward?
Yeah, look, I think that the president is trying to shake things up like a snow globe, and he has been so effectual. I mean, you can't keep up with the amount of successful enterprises he's engaged in, whether it's recruitment by the military that's up for the 15-year high, 10,000 jobs created within 60 days. Contrast, and those were 93% of that is in the free market. Contrast that with the previous administration in the last 2 years. 25% of all new jobs they created were government jobs. And so you've got someone that is doing some really unique, thinking outside the box type of things. And I'm excited about a president that is going in such a direction that he is invigorating the free market, he is unleashing energy independence, he's securing the border, and he is making America great again.
You know, and I think to your point, something that's not talked about enough when it comes to tariffs and other measures like these is you're not a free country if you're not independent, if you don't have a domestic manufacturing capacity to do all the things we need to do to be a world superpower, deter enemies, and keep us safe. And transitioning now to something else that happened up on the Hill today, I'd love to get your take on this clip of Congressman James Comer addressing Catherine Maher, the CEO of NPR. Let's take a look.
Well, I want to recognize your concerns. One of the first things that I did in coming in May was to beef up our editorial standards. I directed my editor-in-chief, who, by the way,
why is NPR even doing editorials?
I'm
should NPR
so sorry.
Even do editorials?
I don't mean editorial in terms of opinion editorial.
Do you even need opinion? What does it matter with the opinion? If you're a federally funded entity that's supposed to provide the news, can you not provide the news?
Of course,
fair and balanced?
Of course, Congressman. I mean, editorial standards for our journalism was to beef up our editorial practices, bringing in more editors to make sure that we have more points of view reflected in every story. I've engaged in a number of actions trying to address
and my
some of
time's
these
expired.
concerns.
I've lost confidence in public radio. I don't think, Madam Chair, they should get a penny of federal funds.
And it's worth noting, by the way, you go back 4 or 5 years, there was a tweet from NPR, an infamous tweet. Why haven't you seen any stories from NPR about New York Post Hunter Biden laptop story? And they say, we don't want to waste our time on stories that are not really stories. So all the news that's fit to print, except the news that our regime doesn't like. When you know that they won't now, only years later, they admit, oh, we messed up on the Hunter Biden laptop story. And that's obviously just the tip of the iceberg here. I mean, how much money should they get, and why should they get a penny of our dollars when they're clearly biased?
Look, Ben, you asked the question, how much money should they get? None. Show me among the 18 enumerated powers of Article 1, Section 8, where Congress is given certain authorities by the Constitution where it says that we should be putting money to this end. There's a First Amendment right of free speech, and it should end there. Let the free market decide. Why is the government doing this anywhere altogether? This is why this type of thing where no one asks, do we have a constitutional authority to do this, is why you overspend as a country $2 trillion now. Compare that to 1980, where it took us 200 years of governance. For the first time, we rolled over $1 trillion gross national debt, sum total debt. Every year we overspend by $2 trillion. This is how we've gotten there, is we're doing things that are unconstitutional the government should never be involved in.
And I think your point, we've seen that with USAID and all of these so-called NGOs where, are you really a non-governmental organization if you can't exist without government funds? I mean, shouldn't all of these things be defunded at the end of the day? About 10 seconds, your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Look, absolutely. I'm working with colleagues right now to push back on let the free market reign. Energy independence, energy dominance that President Trump's talking about. These 8 different subsets of subsidies that the Inflation Reduction Act put in place. as President Trump rightly called it, the Green New Scam. The overriding principle for conservatives in America is, do you have a constitutional authority, and let the free market determine, relative to energy, best cost, most efficient, most reliable. And so to all of my colleagues, to everyone across America in this reconciliation, this one big beautiful bill, we've got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, $1 trillion cost over 10 years to get rid of perversion of the free market, tax subsidization of wind and solar, and go right on down the list, these 8 different elements. We have got to return to a people that understand there's a place for government, and it's not to include preferential treatment for those that their friends are a part of.
Congressman Brecheen, we've got to leave it right there. Thank you so much.